Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my humble home in Livingston, Montana. Okay, I just got done doing a YouTube video today, but I decided to do another one because there's a couple issues I wanted to cover. So bear with me, Actually, there's a story or two here, believe it or not. Okay, and it's November 14th of 2020. In other words, yesterday was Friday the 13th, and it was a real nasty day because we had winds of right around 100 miles an hour here in Livingston, Montana, and that ain't no kidding either. Okay, one of the things that I'm going to use two examples that it may strike a chord with you, it may not, but I firmly believe that our food chain, the food that comes out of especially the grocery stores and stuff like that's contaminated to a certain degree. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you two examples they're just two examples, but they're enough to make me wonder how widespread this crap is. Okay, back in my younger day, I lived down in southern Idaho, and I got my family started. And I used to work for the H.J. Heinz Company, a great big food processor that owned a branch, of the H.J. Heinz Company called Ore-Ida Foods. Now, I know you guys have heard of Ore-Ida French fries, Ore-Ida tater tots, tri-taters, and all that kind of stuff. Okay. I was middle management. I was a security guard, which really didn't mean much, but I had enough clout to pretty much speak my way, my mind and throw my weight around if necessary. Okay, I remember this one particular hot afternoon. It was swing shift, and I was making my rounds through plant one. They had two plants, but I was going through plant one, and I was walking by what they call a tri-tater line. These tri-taters just came out of a fryers, and they were coming down this belt, and I remember that belt kind of curved around like this, and what they were doing is they were headed towards the freezers, like that. Well, there was this worker that was taking care of the equipment right there and making sure everything was all nice and sanitized, I guess. But he had this hose, this high-pressure hose that had this some kind of a disinfectant of some kind in there, and he's he's got a yellow suit on and rubber boots or a rubber suit, them yellow jobbers, and he was all decked out and everything. Anyway, he's spraying all underneath the conveyor belts and all over the walls and everything. I just couldn't believe this when I actually seen this. I'm standing back, I'm not trying to ride shotgun on the guy or anything like that, but I'm standing back watching this scenario because he was spraying. There was this wall that came down, and the conveyor belt went underneath this wall. Well, he was spraying all up there on the ceiling and all around and everything, and this whole sheet of disinfectant and soap and water and stuff just kept dripping, literally almost running off of this wall, right on the tri-taters. And I'm standing back there going, now this ain't too cool. Somebody's got to eat that stuff. And I so happen to know the foreman that run that line, So I ran around plant one until I found him. His name was Richard, but I don't need to say any other names other than that. And anyway, I found old Richard. I said, hey, Richard, come here, So I brought him over the line over there, told him what the problem was, and he says, look, Jim, he says, if you're wanting me to shut this line down, just because a few potatoes got this, well, he didn't call it a poison, he didn't call it, he just called it water or whatever, whatever. But just because they got a little extra liquid on him, he says, I can't do her. Cost the company way too much money to shut this line down. And I said, okay. I says, Richard, I just thought I'd tell you, this did not look like a hygienic situation to me, which it wasn't, So I just went about my merry way and thought, well, I did what I could, Okay, right there is one example, of me actually seeing stuff, disinfectant or whatever have you, falling on food products, and that line never did get stopped. Those potatoes got not bagged up or whatever, boxed up or whatever have you, frozen, and right out to the store they went, I'm shaking my head going, man, oh man, I don't know about this here deal, It started making me think about how many other products in stores, processed food, that this kind of nonsense is going on. And I'll bet you it's a lot. I am claiming that I believe that the food chain, especially coming out of the grocery stores and everything, is not fully contaminated, but it's contaminated to a certain degree. Now I'm going to tell you a real gross one. Listen to this little story. A year or so ago, some of you know I had Acolasia surgery. Acolasia is a condition where the valve down in your esophagus doesn't open up and food doesn't pass down into your stomach properly. And the only way that they can fix that, sure, they can give you drugs, they can do this, they can use Botox and stick it in there and do all kinds of crazy stuff. But the only way it can really get fixed is if a surgeon gets there. In my stomach right here, I've got 5 incisions, believe it or not. And they get in there and they cut that valve open so that when you eat, your food goes down through your esophagus and into your stomach like it's supposed to instead of being blocked. Acolasia technically is a blockage of the lower esophagus, and the operation to correct it is called an open modified Heller myoptomy. I don't want to repeat that, but I had to go through that a year and a half or so ago, and all that. Okay, now why am I telling you this weird story? Listen to this. Get a load of this. One day I was having a cup of soup. You know what I'm talking about? That, I don't know if I should say, not that name cup of soup, but that name Nissan, Nissan or whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. Where you take the hot water and you pour it in your cup of soup and stir it for 2 minutes and you got soup. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. Now, some of you might want to think twice before you buy this particular product again. Okay, I take my cup of soup, after I get the hot water in and make the soup and everything like that, and I eat about half of it or maybe a little bit more than half of it, and my Acolasia starts acting up, and Acolasia causes you to erp up food, not puke up food, just erp it up. You can't, it won't go down into your stomach, and so the only other place it can do is come right back up again. So I sit there and made a couple of spits, if you will, erps, into that stupid, I'd eaten almost all of that cup of soup, almost all of it. And I set it there beside my chair, and for some reason that night I didn't get around to throwing it away or whatever have you. I just left it there. I'm kind of a sloppy housekeeper, And I get up the next morning. Listen to this one. I get up the next morning, I'm having my coffee, and I told the wife, I said, oh, I forgot to throw this soup, this grody soup away, and anyway, I picked it up and I looked in there, and you know what was in there? Maggots. I'm going to say it again, maggots, and a lot of them too. Now, there is no way, we have never seen a maggot in our house up here in Livingston, Montana. Nowhere, anywhere. The only way that, and there was a lot of maggots in that little, styrofoam cup. If you was to ask me how many, I would say probably at least 50 to 75. And there is only one way that those maggots could have got there, and that's if they were in there already. Maggots, mind you. That grossed me out, and I'll never, ever, ever, ever eat that kind of food again. That quickie soup, 2-minute stuff, and you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, and that's another reason why I think that, that's proof to me that the food chain, processed food especially, is not all that healthy. And the last thing I want to say, I don't want to go into this because this is a touchy subject with this coronavirus, or what Trump calls the China plague and all this. But right from the beginning of this, I haven't bought into this. I haven't bought into all this arguing and all the crap going on. I'm thinking, this is more politics at work and all that. I realize that there's a lot of people that have died. I don't want to sound like I'm disrespectful and all that, but I have got my certain doubts about what they're saying is true about the coronavirus and what's not true. If you want to know what I really think, and you don't have to think this, this is just my opinion. I figure that somebody has figured out a cheaper way to kill people other than war, because bullets cost a lot of money, don't you know? And airplanes, what is it, the newest one, F-35, millions and millions. These ships cost a lot of money. Yeah, billions and billions of dollars. Apache helicopters, all that. But you stop and think about it. What would be a cheap way to wipe out as many people as they could in a short period of time? Bioterrorism. I'm going to say that again. Bioterrorism. Has anybody ever thought? Because this China plague, was supposedly come out of Wuhan, China. And what gets me about that particular, the coronavirus, is all of a sudden it spread around the world in like 3 weeks. How is that possible? I think this thing was planned. I think the coronavirus was invented by somebody and all of that stuff. I had to laugh at old President Trump way back before the election and everything. He says, Nancy Pelosi's not going to be happy until we're all tap dancing down in Chinatown. That's one thing I got a kick out of. It's one thing about old Trump. At least he speaks his mind, But this isn't a political anything, I don't like politicians. None of them. They all lie and whatnot have you. But there is 2 things right there I just named off that's not healthy for us human beings, and that's processed food. Have you ever looked on the backside of some of these, packs of whatever, packs of noodles or cans of soup or just anything? The contents that are in there, the ingredients that are in there, some of that stuff you people can't even pronounce, and neither can I. And you just know it. If you can't pronounce it and you don't know what it is, chances are it's probably not very healthy for you. The maggots that I told you that I know I ended up eating were probably more healthy for me than some of the crap they put in these foods. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Bioterrorism and contaminated food chain. How do you like it? Doesn't sound too good, does it? Just something for you to think about, and I know I'm, 14, 15 minutes into this file. Good. I thought I would jabber a lot longer than that. What I just got done telling you is an absolute true story. You can take it from here, believe what you want to believe, and it's all good with me, because I realize that I'm kind of an outspoken person, and I realize I say things sometimes that people don't believe. It doesn't bother me. I don't care. Believe whatever you want to. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for letting me entertain you. This is really not entertainment. I'm trying to come right at you. But take care of yourselves, because nobody else is going to take care of you, okay? Take care of yourselves, and we shall see you on down the trail. Adios, my friends. Let me get out of here.